Fighting and understanding is a deeply intertwined concept in relationships because fighting sometimes make understanding other people harder, and when you fail in understanding other people, sometimes you fight. But before a fight breaks out, I feel like a common misconception of understanding that people have affects a lot of the conflicts that is found in relationships these days. One of the biggest thing that I always believed in as I was growing up is that you can never be able to get to know somebody for who they are. And the keyword know is very important here because most of the conflicts, if people could know the difference between understanding someone and knowing someone, a lot of the conflicts, in my opinion, would be solved. Most people think understanding someone, if that keeps going on in a relationship and if they get really intimate with another person, they sometimes or at some point they reach a level where they can go ahead and say that, oh, I know this person. And I don't believe in that because you're never going to be able to become the other person yourself. So the best you can do is to get to know the person better than you used to or other people do. Mostly this is because when you meet another person, right? How normally people develop their relationships is that they learn about other people, they get to meet a new stranger, and then if they are willing, if both sides are willing to take their relationships to another level or to prolong it or to make it deeper or whatever, they start asking each other questions, right? Because they have no data of who they are. So they need this prior step in order to get to know the other person. And then they gather data, which is accumulating the information that they have received from other people. But there's the point, right? You're not actually accumulating knowledge because then you would have to be like, oh, is the knowledge correct or false? But rather, you are accumulating the experience that you have put in with that other person in your life together. And then that builds a huge database, right? You accumulate it, and then you have this huge file of experience that you shared with the other person. And that becomes something that you can memorize in your body. For example, if you are meeting a new lover, or if you are just born, and then if you are born into a specific family and you meet people that you're going to meet for a very long time, you're going to learn their habits and you're going to know about them, what they like or dislike, whether you do it intentionally or unconsciously, it's still going to happen. And once that is over, you feel that you have enough experience to talk about someone or to respond to someone and say like, "Oh, I know this guy or I know this person." And then you make this step of guessing. And that's the thing, right? All we're doing is eventually guessing up to some point with a reasonable data that we've collected within the experience that we have with other people. To give it the best example, what's actually happening when you are starting a relationship is, for example, I've never went to Brazil and I know nothing about it, mostly, right? So if I would want to know about, for some reason, if am trying to reach the goal of getting to learn about a specific restaurant that is placed in any city in Brazil, for example, Brasilia, I would go ahead and go on Google or a trustable source to search up information of specific restaurants near that place, right? And I would sometimes go on the roadmap, go on to look for some reviews. I would even sometimes, if I have the opportunity, I would go ask and call a person that's living in Brazil if I have any acquaintances there and ask if they know about the restaurant or not, right? And everything you do in this particular step, it's building up your own confidence and your own reliable faith, more like your reasons logically trying to prove to yourself that, oh, what I'm doing is considered enough source and considered reliable. So if I would make a decision about that, oh, there is a great restaurant near Brasilia's airport, public airport, that is called, for example, soccer, I guess. I don't know why I made that thing up, but regardless, you can never check, right? You're never going to be able to check if that is true because you're not going to be able to go into Brazil in this case, which is the premise of the statement. And that's why no matter how you try and no matter how you further your relationship with another person, the only thing you're doing is that you're trying to justify your knowledge and justify your beliefs into the other person. And that process is totally fine when you call it understanding. But when you say that you know someone, that is a different story because understanding implies and it entails attitude. If you want to go and get to know about someone, of course, you can take all those steps that I previously mentioned, searching up on Google, calling a nice friend who technically maybe or hopefully lives in Brazil and ask them for advice or about proper information, right? But still, who knows if that restaurant has been shut down back in like 2016 or so, and if everybody else is giving false information or better yet, less information that you originally used to have, right? You're not going to have a substance to compare your knowledge about. That's why it's really, really hard, and that is why it's really dangerous to go ahead and think that you know someone. And as relationships get longer, the biggest thing that actually makes a huge difference in your body or your thought or your mind or anything is that you make your own repertoire, right? You have your own habits and you have your own ways of thinking because you meet a lot of people. You don't meet just one people throughout your entire life, right? And those experiences accumulate as a human to human interaction as a whole, and then what happens is that you have a certain habit of getting to know somebody and getting to befriend them and further that relationship. For example, if you have close friends to yourself, right? If you have close friends, you're going to have your own way of interacting with each and one of those friends. But if a relationship that you have with another person reaches that specific level, sometimes you might do the same, right? Sometimes you don't have to ask about what flavor of ice cream they like, although you have no idea if the information that you know is correct or not, even if you heard from the other person. Because the biggest thing that everybody misses out is that we change. We change through time. We change every single second and we change every single minute. It's just that it's so trivial that we don't see the discrepancy. But if that goes on for a while, and if we keep forgetting that we have to acknowledge the fact that we are not able to completely understand other people, and sometimes we're not going to be trying. And that makes that small discrepancy grow bigger and huger until it hits you in the head like a truck. And reality shows that, oh, now it's been so long since I thought you were the person who you were. And turns out they never were that person. And if people keep on changing, and if we can never be able to catch up to the speed of how people change, we're not going to be able to understand other people completely 100% thoroughly, right? And is that a curse? No. That's a blessing. Because that means that regardless of how hard you try, you're going to be reaching 90% of understanding the other person, right? You know literally all of the things that you think you know. You know their You know their address, you know what color of ice cream they like. I don't know why you would want to know that, but you know their friends, you know their family, you know their significant others' last name, and you know their social security number, whatever. Still, you're just up to 99%. And if you even add more on that pile, you're just going to be knowing that person up to 99.9%. It's never such thing as 100% because there's always room to grow. And that's why it's a blessing, right? Acknowledging the fact that you have always room to grow with the other person by trying to understand them and trying to treat them as if you would do politely to the strangers that you meet, there's gonna be so many fights reduced, right? And I know that's tiring. That's really really frustrating because we're efficient, right? Because human beings are efficient creatures. We have this lazy processing mindset in our brain where if we get to know the other person for a while, our brain obviously makes a routine of thinking and a habit of conceiving and perceiving and conducting things or ideas or concepts or feelings or performing words, right? Let's say your partner just comes home tired and they are having a really bad day. And let's say you're tired too, right? Love and care in a relationship means that you're willing to break that lousy and lazy algorithm in your mind of just going with your normal routine as if you would normally do with your partner and caring to step out of your circle and to go and ask what happened, even if you know that maybe their evil boss named Ron or something, that guy's bugging them for the eternity of ever, and you know that fact. You know why they're stressed out. You know that they are having a bad day, and you know what's going to cheer them up, even if you think you do, and even if you actually do. What matters is to take that tiresome step and to go ask them, hey, is everything all right? Because love and care and taking the long road around means to actively partaking in the endless, continuous extension line of getting to know someone. And that way, you're going to be able to grow with someone. And you're going to be able to see how you and the other person changes. And that's the best blessing in a relationship.